personally. I think we should have some kind of project implementation plan that we can say that we're following, and we also should have some kind of aspirational timeline for this. In my head, it starts with requirements, and I want to see requirements nailed down by, say, May of this year, so that we can start putting, feelers out to builders by June, July timeframe. Is that possible? I don't know, but that's my aspiration at this point. But we need to have some kind of implementation plan, and we need to have some kind of timeline. So I would like to see us, while we still have a quorum, make a motion that we ask staff to come up with a project implementation plan and aspirational time frame that is soonest aspirational time frame by the next meeting. Ryan?
I think that becomes difficult unless we give staff what our requirements are for them to come up with an implementation plan. Or is the requirements part of the implementation plan that they bring back to us? Is that?
Yeah, the determination of the requirements could take 10 years if you wanted to poll everybody personally in the county, or we could set a time frame and put it out in the paper saying, if you have a requirement, you better come to these next 3 meetings because we're going to move forward from there. So determining a time frame for these is part of a project implementation process in my mind. Kim?
I just want to add on to that is that I think it is very important in terms of the public perception of this, that something is stated like that. If you've got, a pet project that you want to see, because I still really think that the community isn't really sure this is still is going to happen, because based on a lot of the feedback and comments last week or the week before when this was brought forward, and Mr. Cridlin did his report, and then there was, an article in the local newspaper. There was still a lot of confusion. I think that it was still up for debate, like, okay, I think we might be fixing the pool and we might be doing this. But no, this is happening. And I think that some kind of clear statement, that's why I was talking about, an actual name for this place. I'm not saying that this is the official name that's going to be, above the door, but I think enough of us had said that we weren't really pleased with the Norplex term, so that we can actually kind of come out and say, okay, Norfolk County, this is happening. This is what our next step is, site selection. And yeah, we're going to have these number of meetings, give some dates, and say if you've got something you would really like to, advocate for, come out, because then we're moving on. Like,
Absolutely.
This is.
Yep. We need to get this. We need to get this built before we're all dead. That was a quote. Gord.
Through the chair to Mr. Cridlin, would like to ask, do you feel you have the information and resources necessary to put together that process plan by a certain time, whether that be the next meeting or what have you?
Through the chair to the board member. Interesting question. I came in here today trying to think that we've kind of started again, let's say, and I think it's good. We've got fresh eyes. We've got an excellent committee in front of us. All kinds of ideas are moving along. I guess I'm a little tied up in, this started as Simcoe facilities, a pool, possibly an arena, and a seniors. And there have been a lot of things that have came to light. The connection, again, with Fanshawe, the kitchen, the daycare, that sort of thing. So I'm just a little set back that I think we do, at least I would like at least a little more conversation, a little more direction on, we could get to the timeline, but I'm still back here wondering what we're going to have in this facility. So I guess I'm understanding we're going to have to reach out to the community a little more, talk to them to see, and we can throw timelines like that together. Like the one summer we did what we call the traveling road show, for lack. What we went to the the 5 or 6 urban areas, and we got a lot of feedback, and that's where they talked more about meeting rooms and dry land training and stuff like that. We could put that timeline together. I'm just, I guess if that's the question, I think I can do that. If it's the bigger construction, where we go kind of thing, I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here.
Sue.
Question through to Mr. Cridlin is, why aren't we using the information that we've already gained? And the question I have is, can we not discuss what we think? Like, can we also not just do a traveling roadshow? Let's be more efficient through the internet as well, because we don't always hit all the people that can come to those at night, right?
Through the chair of the board member, I did forget, there was a survey that was online as well, which I believe the clerk's office, Stephanie, you guys would still have that. So there was some social media out there, and there was also a survey. So we, other than the physical traveling roadshow, which we took notes at, there was that aspect at all. So we have a fair bit of information on what the community wants. You are right. It's just I just say the kitchen or commercial kitchen or industrial kitchen, as well as the child care, have entered lately. And as staff member, I mean, it sounds good if you're going to put this hub facility together. I'm just not sure. I'm not the person to say they have to go. We would need to do a little more work on those 2 items. That just comes to light.
Kim.
Through you. And also as part of as one of the, I guess, previous members of the CARE group, we also gathered a lot of feedback and stuff prior to the traveling road shows when we did the presentation at Fanshawe, and that was a really big turnout. It was quite a diverse group from all of Norfolk County, and we had that big paper out, and we had people and we got some fantastic ideas. So I think between the traveling road shows, the information that was gathered through the CARE group, which I'm quite certain they would be willing to share, it pretty much covers everything.
I agree. I think we've gathered a lot of good information. I'm not sure we've consolidated it all yet, but I think we need to give the members of the current general public an opportunity. But I say we should limit that opportunity to the next 3 months so we can move on and not let this wither on the vine. So that's kind of my goal here, is to, let's not just keep talking about talking. Let's move forward. Yeah. Ian.
Thank you, Chairman Anderson, and through the chair to the board. I think it does behoove us to try to create some urgency to the decision-making process and set some benchmarks. I feel like that's where this bullet point has come from, and that's where we need to get to. You will be presented with some information at council in closed session pertaining to site selection, and you're also going to be provided with a wealth of information that has already been aggregated to date in terms of requirements, and I believe that will help us inform the process. So once you've had an opportunity to really sink your teeth in as a group to that information, I think you're going to be really impressed with the work that's already been done. And I foresee us nailing down requirements before May. I'd like to move that we do put a target, whether it's going to be something that we will realize or not. It's something that we're driving towards, and I'd like to have it at our May RFAB meeting. I think that would be in order for us to say, May, when we have our RFAB meeting, we're going to nail down the requirements, and that's going to allow us, hopefully, in the months to come, and I'd like to get this wrapped up by summer, to actually pick the site. Because I think that's probably the larger piece of work, is actually getting to that site selection. I know that's very important for us to get some requirements of what we're building before we choose where we're building it. You're going to have that information provided to you in a little bit more detail with some confidential aspects to it, February. So in order to expedite this project or actually get the wheels turning here a bit, let's go ahead and do as you suggested, Mr. Anderson, and let's go ahead and say, May, we're going to nail down our requirements. Maybe at that point in time we can discuss when we think we'd like to benchmark site selection.
Right, and we'll leave it just a little bit nebulous as to whether that's May 1st or May 31st at this point. That way we've got a little room to flex.
Yeah, and I have a motion for it as such, and let's just go ahead and select May 2019. We will make a decision on the requirements for the facility. Seconder?
Sue seconds, all in favor? May it is. Okay, that covers project management. Working groups, are there any other working groups we need to discuss other than the two we've built so far? Sorry. I don't know whether we have to have the same four every time though, do we?
No, like.
Yeah.
What would be on the
Yeah, I think at this point we should just leave the chair discretion to contact any group of. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we need unanimity. Yeah, we're okay. Gord, do you have anything to add to facility requirements, site selection criteria, fundraising, donor recognition? Okay, then the next issue is you do know that we're meeting on the 26th? Okay, very good, 3:30. Okay. The last working group that I was considering was, I guess we tied fundraising and communications together, didn't we? So that's, those were the three working groups that I really wanted to hit. Does anybody have any other working groups that we need to discuss? Perfect. Okay. Facility requirements and site selection criteria was a standing item. I think we're going to learn a lot more about that in 2 weeks. So I think we should just pass on that at this point. And fundraising and donor recognition, same issue. It's a standing item. I think we've gone around a little bit on this already. Ready to wrap that? Okay. Was suggested meeting schedule be changed to the Monday prior to I don't know who, the only council meeting in March is. Okay, I took it upon myself to suggest the next meeting, the official meeting of our board is March 4th. Immediately after the site selection meeting. I did this for two reasons. One, I think a lot of people will be away in middle of March, so the following week. I know I will be. So I was hoping that we could have our site selection closed door session and then have a week to chew on the information and then come back in with the questions that we can have as a board the following week. Does that sound too tight? Okay. Brian? Okay. So can you make the 26th though? Okay. Brian?
Thank you, Chair Anderson, through you to Stephanie. Do you think we'd be able to have that teleconference type thing that you guys were discussing at the start of the meeting set up by March? Have that option?
Or for anybody who's not here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so through the chair to the board, that's a really good question. Currently, our procedural bylaw does not allow members that are absent to vote, basically. I mean, they could certainly call in and listen and maybe, chat a bit, but they would be referred to as absent from the meeting, and they would be not able to vote. That doesn't mean that, so the Municipal Act actually allows municipalities to have that ability, but currently our procedural bylaw doesn't. So it is a lot of work. It's something that council would have to pass. The other issue that we have is, and maybe you've noticed, but our technology as it currently is in council chambers isn't the best. And we do have, we hope to, in the next couple of years, redo council chambers, and we'll certainly look at that option then. So I guess long story short is they could certainly call in, but I don't, it'd be difficult for them to be voting members. They'd be absent.
Kim?
Okay, so what were we originally talking about? So we have the meeting on the 26th, correct?
Yes, that's a joint session.
Yes, and then we have our meeting schedule set for,
Well, the script here suggests the 26th, but I didn't make up the script. So I'm just thinking.
the 26th of March?
Yeah,
Okay.
which seems like a long time from now to have our next board meeting. So I'm thinking that we want to try and move this forward.
Okay,
you know.
so we're meeting February 26th, and then the next one is scheduled March 26th, but you're wanting to do it earlier in March.
Nobody's scheduled it yet, but I'm,
So sorry. At the very first RFAB meeting, it was passed by motion that our meetings were the second Monday of every month,
Okay,
which has been brought to our attention that that precedes a council and committee meeting.
Yep.
So it was suggested that we move that date to the day prior to a council meeting, so that how
Okay.
it's happening.
we could do it, okay. So our meeting schedule is set then?
It is set, and that would be March 11th. So
Okay.
if you were wanting to change it to the day prior to a council meeting once a month, then we'll have to do a motion and change that.
yeah, this is all news to the chair because I was told when I took the chair that I could call meetings when I needed. But here nor there, I guess the question on the floor is, do we want to go on the 4th or the 11th? Ian?
I would prefer to keep it on the 11th, just because this is publicly posted. We're getting into a rhythm here. I have already scheduled time myself to attend on the 11th. I appreciate that you do want to have the meeting a little bit more timely after you've received that information. It's quite a bit to chew on. You might need 2 weeks. 1 week might not do it, and it is good timing that we're going to have that chat on the 11th, and you have your council immediately following, and appreciating that you do have councilors, including our mayor, serving on this board. I realize that what's passed on the 11th won't be on the agenda for the 12th. But we're going to be coming to that council with the lessons that we've learned on this board, and our gears are going to be turning, trying to plan that for the following agenda, right, which it would appear on for approval. That's going to give us some time to actually have that sober second thought and consider the advice that we learned here. And I'd like to keep the 11th. I'm hoping that Sue would be able to attend. Maybe she's of a similar mindset. That's what she's planned for, to attend on the 11th. Oh, it is March break. Okay, great. So again, I would like to keep the 11th. It's something that's been on my radar, and I think you are going to have quite a bit of information really to digest. But also, we are going to have a healthy discussion on the 26th as well, and that's going to be information you're not going to be able to prepare for. We're going to have those questions and answers that evening, and that might take some time to digest as well. So I would like to keep it as it is.
Okay, I just have to prepare the deputy chair to take the chair, because I'm not here. All right. I'm still not entirely certain that once a month is appropriate for the full board, but we'll live with that for the next couple of months and see how our requirements start developing. Go ahead, Kim.
I agree with you, but I think at this point, there isn't really much. Not that there aren't things to do, but I think until that site selection is done and we kind of get through that general housekeeping, meeting more than once a month is not necessary. But once we we kind of get our feet on the ground, then yeah, I can definitely see that we would be having meetings more than once a month. But at this point in time, I think once a month is good until we nail down that, drill down on that site selection.
Okay. Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything on this. Just have to find the right page to make sure I get the right words here for the closing. I don't know where it went now. That's it. The meeting has to stay open. We have one more thing. No, we can't quite adjourn yet. Before we close this out, we just have to run through the action items. We have 8 action items, 7, sorry. Here, terms of reference, I think we've covered. Does anybody want to raise anything else on the action item there? Okay, and staff, can you just confirm that it's all set to get presented to council? Okay. The application process for a replacement member. Follow-up date is today. Do we have any news on that?
I believe the advertisement is going in the paper this week with a closing date of March 15th.
Okay. Can we get that on the radio as well as in the printed press?
I'll look into that for you.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion on the replacement? Okay. Wilmot Tour, I think we've beaten tours to death today. Communications plan for fundraising is beaten to death. Site selection, we're done. Project map timelines, we're waiting. I just wanted to make sure that we actually covered that motion in its entirety. Have we got a deliverable from your staff there, Bill, on that? Did you make note of that for a project plan? I know that we were discussing it, but I'm not sure we kind of came to a conclusion there.
Yeah, the notes I've got, I think we're okay here. We'll discuss with clerks before we leave to be sure we're clear, but yes.
Okay, so by March 11th, we should have some kind of project implementation plan and aspirational timeline put together? Awesome, good. Anything else on that issue then? No? The central repository for sharing documents, I'm sure we'll get some email direction on that. So we're all set there. Action items are completed. So if I could just find my fancy words to close this meeting out.